What is up, you guys? Zomboy here. Welcome to Twisted Terrors. On this episode, we're going to be talking about 2022's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This one is rated R. It runs 1 hour 23 minutes. It was directed by David Garcia. IMDb's got this one rated at 4.7 out of 10. Letterboxd has it at 1.8 out of 5. Not real good scores on Letterboxd. Let me read the plot on this one. After nearly 50 years of hiding, Leatherface returns to terrorize a group of idealistic influencers who accidentally interrupt his carefully shielded world in a remote Texas town. So this one starts off following a group of young adults. Basically, they have purchased a ghost town named Harlow in Texas. They're traveling there because they've had a contractor just trying to fix it up just a little bit, because their plans, they have a bus of people coming to put bids on buildings to try to revitalize this town. They realize pretty quickly that the townsfolk know who they are in the towns around Harlow, and they're not real stoked on their plans for it. Right off the bat, they're stopped by the town sheriff, letting them know a lot of the people living around the area were born in Harlow, so to please be respectful.
Some of us were born here, you know. Saw it in its prime. So please, be respectful for the town.
They get to Harlow. First off, they have a run-in, having some road rage with the guy with the big diesel truck who's burning coal and driving like a madman. When they get to the town, they realize that's the contractor they hired, and he was the one fixing up the town. They see a Confederate flag hanging from a window, and they're pretty worried when the bus gets there, if that's hanging up, the people might not agree with that being hung up. So they decide to go in this building and try to remove it. And they quickly run into a woman in the building still living there.
What are you doing in our house?
I'm sorry. I didn't realize.
We thought this place was empty.
They try to explain to her that everyone has left the town and they have purchased the town and she's not supposed to be there anymore. She tries to explain that she has the deed to the building and that in fact they might have purchased the town but not her place. She explains that the building is an orphanage, that she's been running it for a long time. The young adults end up calling the police, and they come and tell her she's got to leave and she's not supposed to be there.
Christ, Jimmy, why are you still here? What have you done?
And she collapses and looks like she might be having a heart attack. And as this is happening, this large male shows up at the top of the stairs, and she tells him it's okay, everything's okay. And they start hauling her out to the van to take her to a nearby hospital. One of the influencers goes with them, and the big male ends up going with them, and she explains it's the last of her kids that have grown up in the orphanage. She ends up dying in the van, and you quickly realize that this male, he gets pretty upset when she passes, and he ends up killing one of the police officers that's in the back, and they wreck the van. This is where Leatherface starts his rampage. Right off the bat, he ends up starting to cut the face off of one of his victims so he can wear it. She can't get out of the van. She's trapped in the passenger front seat, and she's trying to get out, and she realizes the doors are stuck because the van's so wrecked. And the police officer in the driver's seat wakes up. Leatherface quickly comes over and dispatches him right in front of her, and she's pretending like she's unconscious or dead. As soon as he walks away again, she realizes that they've got a CB radio, so she hops on the CB radio and starts calling for help. And lo and behold, one of the townsfolk hear her call about him cutting the face off of someone and wearing it. and he knows who to call. He calls Sally, who has been a sheriff and was trying to find Leatherface her whole life and never could find him because she had no clue what he looked like. Sally's an original character. She's the only survivor from the 1974 Texas Chainsaw Massacre. All while that's happening, the bus shows up and all these people show up and they're having an auction. People are bidding on the buildings in this town so they can start their own businesses and try to revitalize this town. And one of them receives a text message after the auction is done that the lady has passed away. After hearing that she's passed away, you got her friend that wants to celebrate because a bunch of the business is sold, and the mechanic hears what happens and he ends up taking everyone's keys and says, until you can prove to me that that's your building, you guys aren't going anywhere.
Give us back the keys.
Show me the deed to that house. You'll have them back. I'll be in the shop.
And so they're stuck in this town and they end up going back to the house and they're rummaging through her house trying to see if she has the deed, which they do end up finding the deed in her house. It looks like she did own the house and that they did not purchase that one. And while they're in the house, Leatherface walks back, ends up coming back into the house and quickly dispatches one of the characters pretty brutally. It's Leatherface. And the girl upstairs witnesses that and ends up hiding. He ends up breaking into the wall and tearing a chainsaw out of the wall that's been in there for 50 years and starts that sucker right up. Let me tell you, that's some good gas and oil in that thing, because I was really surprised how easily that thing started up. Leatherface goes on an absolute rampage. My favorite scene in this movie, the scene in that house where he starts massacring some people, and then everyone's on the party bus having a good time drinking, they got music playing, and Leatherface gets on the bus with his chainsaw, and let me tell you, it's a bloody mess. It is my favorite scene in this movie. I mean, he decimates everybody on the bus. After dispatching pretty much everyone on the bus, two of the characters, the sisters, they're running away from Leatherface, and Sally shows up and they jump in Sally's car and she puts them in the back seat and they tell her to leave and she doesn't, and then they realize that Sally's going to use them as bait since Leatherface is after them, and she's not driving anywhere because she wants to kill Leatherface. So finally, Leatherface and Sally meet again after 50 years, and she brings up her friends that he killed and even shows him a picture that she's held on to since the first movie. And you can tell right off the bat, she's pretty upset because Leatherface has no clue who she is. And then Leatherface dispatches her pretty quickly. You know, it was a pretty mellow fight. I was really hoping for a little bit more of a battle. That didn't happen. He dispatches her with his chainsaw pretty quickly, and then there's a big battle at the end between the two sisters and Leatherface. And at one point you think one of the sisters is about to die, and Sally somehow is not dead and kind of saves the day. Then she dies, and then at the end of the movie they kill Leatherface, and they finally get the keys to their Tesla again, and they're loading into the Tesla and put that sucker in auto drive, and they're driving away happily ever after, before Leatherface grabs one of the sisters and pulls her out the window and decapitates her with a chainsaw as the Tesla is auto driving and the other sister's hanging out of the sunroof watching. And that's the end of the movie. And then at the end scene, there's an end credit where Leatherface is walking up to an old farmhouse. I don't know if that's supposed to be the farmhouse from the 1974 movie. I wasn't real clear on that. But, you know, this movie, I like it a lot. I'm a big Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan, and I've learned for a while you kind of just got to go with the punches. With this one, it made a little bit more sense when I started doing a little bit of research online, because they say it's a direct sequel to the 1974 Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's pretending like none of the other ones happened. That makes a little bit more sense. But the things where I was getting confused is when he's been living at that orphanage for so long, and There's pictures of him as a little boy, and he's still there as an adult. I was kind of confused if this is a direct sequel. So he was raised by the orphanage, went out, lived with his family, did the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1974, and then went back to the orphanage. I was a little confused because if it's a direct sequel, he couldn't be a little boy at the orphanage. So I mean, there's a lot of continuity issues when it comes to time with this movie, and I kind of have to just forget about those and just enjoy the bloodshed in this one. The thing I did like about this one is I like Leatherface when he's a brute force. I like him when he's a freight train, and I like the old ones as well, but the ones that I like the least are the ones he acts like a child and does the cross-dressing and pretends like he's a girl and stuff like that, and I had a hard time with those ones. But this one I really liked because he was an absolute menace. He was huge. He just looked menacing. That's my favorite Leatherface. This one I probably have rated higher than most people. I highly recommend this one, but you really have to turn your brain off to enjoy it. The thing I don't like about this one is all the main characters, I can't stand them. There's not one of them I like. The main character, one of the sisters, she's just super annoying. Her sister tried to do this background with her to get you to feel something about her. She went through something really traumatic. That didn't work. So I found myself rooting for Leatherface and just waiting for those young adults to get what's coming to them. I don't mind that. I gotta root for someone. If I gotta root for Leatherface, that's fine with me. I just don't like when you don't connect with any of the characters at all, and when they start dying, you're supposed to feel something, and in this one I just didn't. I was just like, let's get on to the next one because I want to see the next kill. And that's the thing I like about this one too, is the kills are so different. Every single one of the kills in this is different. It's out there, and like I said, you really got to kind of just turn your brain off. And this one's not a dirty filmed movie at all. The early Texas Chainsaw Massacres, they were grainy. They were just kind of dirty looking and dusty. This one is beautifully shot. The cinematography, the lighting, everything is beautiful. And I don't mind that either. I like the feel of the old ones. They look kind of like grindhouse style. This one's very clean and tidy. This one was filmed in Bulgaria. One of the cool facts in this one is when they're driving into the town of Harlow, there's a sign out there welcoming them to Harlow, and it says population 1974, which is the year the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre was released. Also, the farmhouse that Sally lives in this one, it starts off in her barn when she receives the call and she goes to her house and basically gets a bunch of guns. It's the same house that was used in Rambo Last Blood from 2019. It's the same exact set. So I thought that was kind of cool as well. And this is the 9th installment of this franchise, and I hope they do another one. I like this one. Just go into it knowing that it's got some issues, and if you like blood and guts, this one's gonna be for you. If you're just a huge fan of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, this one may not be up your alley. It's definitely a down step in a lot of continuity when it comes to the old ones, but for a modern slasher, I liked it. I watch this one every year, especially near Halloween time. I just really enjoy it. So if you haven't seen it, go watch it. Tell me what you think. Go ahead and put it in the comments if you want. I'd love to hear what you guys think. I hope you like this video. This is Zomboy, and I'll see you on the next one.